The only journey is the one within. Rainer Maria Rilke. There's something that happens during a spiritual awakening that few talk about, but almost everyone experiences. You go through a spiritual awakening. You do the deep work, face your shadows, open your heart, and yet a feeling persists. It's like you know you've healed, at least at a deep level, but you don't feel the freedom you expected. Your thoughts still loop. Your emotions still repeat the past. And no matter how much healing you've done, something still feels unresolved. So what's really going on? Most people assume they need more healing, more releasing, more work. Most spiritually awakened people remain stuck for one reason only, and almost no one is talking about it. It's subtle. It disguises itself as something normal, and it keeps you trapped in an invisible loop where healing feels never-ending, even though you've already done more than enough. If you've ever felt lighter on the inside, but your mind still tells you you're not there yet, this is for you, because what's keeping you in limbo isn't your energy, it's your awareness. Once you understand this one shift, you won't just feel healed. You'll start living like it, faster than you think, deeper than you imagined. There's a moment in every spiritual awakening experience when progress stops feeling like progress. You've read the books, watched videos, done the healing sessions, sat through the meditations, cried through the journaling, and yet the same emotions keep resurfacing. It feels like you're doing everything you're supposed to do, but something still doesn't shift. The energy feels lighter, sure, but the inner world is still noisy, still stuck. And that contradiction is where most people begin to question everything. You may find yourself asking, why do I still feel pain if I've already healed so much? That question alone can trigger frustration, guilt, or even shame. The mind wants to solve it logically, but healing doesn't follow a straight line. It's layered. What you're feeling now might not be old trauma reactivating, but the residue of past patterns still echoing in your body and thoughts. It's a strange place to be in because you're no longer the version of yourself who was deeply wounded, but you haven't fully stepped into the freedom your soul has already created. It's here, right in this in-between space, that something powerful often happens. In a quiet moment, after trying everything and still feeling that inner weight, a realization surfaces, not from logic, not from books, but from a deeper wisdom within. You're not broken, you're languishing. And this hits differently, because it's not telling you to fix more. It's telling you to notice what's already been fixed but not yet lived. Languishing is that invisible state where the quantum self has already healed, but the human self hasn't caught up. It's when the body still reacts from old fears, even though the soul has already released them. Many spiritual people get stuck here because they mistake this delay for failure. So they go back into healing mode, searching for a wound that no longer exists instead of turning attention to what has shifted and just needs to be embodied. This is where the deeper conflict begins, not between you and your past, but between your healing and your awareness of it. You start questioning your spiritual purpose, wondering if the awakening was real at all. But what if this discomfort isn't a setback? What if it's a sign that something deeper is asking to be recognized, not as another problem to solve, but as a transformation already waiting to be claimed? Most people assume that if they still feel stuck, it means they haven't healed enough. But that is not always true. There's a difference between being emotionally wounded and being energetically misaligned. Languishing is that gray area no one talks about. A state where the deep spiritual healing has already occurred, but your thoughts, habits, and emotions haven't caught up yet. It's not about doing more. It's about recognizing where you already are. Think of it like updating your phone. The software has already been installed, but if the screen is frozen, it doesn't feel like anything has changed. Spiritually, this happens when the quantum self, the part of you beyond time and space, has already shifted, but your human self is still reacting from outdated mental and emotional patterns. This isn't failure. It's just part of the natural delay between energetic transformation and physical integration. Many people in their spiritual awakening experience get trapped here without realizing it. They go back into fixing mode, thinking more healing is needed. But sometimes healing is already complete at a deep level. What's missing is embodiment, letting the mind and body catch up to the frequency of the soul. That's the real challenge of spiritual evolution. This is why it is so important to understand the difference between pain that still needs healing and patterns that simply need rewiring. The energy might already be free, but the nervous system might still be on high alert. Thoughts like, "I'm not ready" or "something is still wrong" become automatic, even when they no longer reflect your truth. This is the invisible barrier that keeps people looping. If you don't recognize that you're languishing, you'll keep treating yourself as broken, when in truth, you're just in the phase where your awareness needs to realign with your progress. That's why so many on the path of spiritual awakening feel frustrated even after years of spiritual work. But once you start identifying this state, everything begins to shift. Not because you did something different, but because you finally saw yourself differently. To understand why healing can feel delayed, you need to look at the two versions of you that coexist. There's the human self, logical, emotional, time-bound. And then there's the quantum self, non-linear, timeless, pure spiritual energy. Both are real, but they operate at different speeds. The quantum self transforms instantly. The human self takes the long road. This is why spiritual awakening often feels like remembering who you already were. When a breakthrough happens on an energetic level, your quantum self embraces it immediately. That part of you doesn't question, doubt, or resist. It simply shifts. But your human self, shaped by years of experience, memory, and identity, doesn't move that fast. It still runs old emotional software. That's where the trap begins. The spiritual energy is already evolved, but the nervous system hasn't updated yet. Imagine your quantum self as the architect and your human self as the construction crew. The blueprint is already drawn, but the physical world takes time to build. That's why during spiritual awakening, you can feel inner peace and confusion at the same time. One part of you knows everything is okay, but the other is still processing the past. Many people fall into frustration here because they expect instant results across all levels. They think that if they've had a deep realization or spiritual connection, their behavior and emotion should automatically reflect it. But the human self needs repetition, care, and consistency. It's not a flaw. It's just the nature of human transformation. Healing is quantum. Integration is human. This is where most people misinterpret their spiritual awakening experience. They judge their progress based on emotional residue, not energetic reality. But if you learn to see your quantum self as the compass, always pointing forward, you will begin to trust the journey of the human self more deeply, and this trust changes everything. Especially when you realize that the next step isn't always about effort, but about alignment.